Hello. In this video, we want to prove the following is an identity. We have 1 minus sine squared of t all over 1 minus cosecant of negative t is equal to 1 plus sine of negative t all over cosecant of t. Okay, so both of these look terrible. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the left-hand side just because I want to. I mean, you can choose the right-hand side with no problem whatsoever. But let's choose the left-hand side. So 1 minus sine squared of t over 1 minus cosecant of negative t. Well, here's the thing. We want to go ahead and start working with making this look like this over here. But to do that, I don't like having negatives in my arguments, at least not to manipulate with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, cosecant, is it even or odd? Well, cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, and sine is odd. Since sine is odd, this negative goes on the outside. So this is the same thing as 1 minus sine squared of t, and then over 1 minus cosecant, 1 plus cosecant of t. Good. Now, 1 minus sine squared of t is actually the same thing as cosine squared of t. That's fine. But it's also a difference of two squares. So you can factor it as 1 plus sine t, 1 minus sine t. Either way works. The question is which one do we want to use? Well, I'm not quite sure yet. So what I want to do is I want to realize I just want a cosecant of t here. But what is cosecant of t? Cosecant of t is 1 over sine, which means that I just kind of want it in terms of sine. So let's do that. Let's replace cosecant with 1 over sine. So this is going to give me 1 minus sine squared of t all over 1 plus 1 over sine of t. Okay, so I've got everything in terms of sine, so I'm going to multiply every term in here by sine, but really what I'm going to do is multiply both top and bottom by sine. So multiply both the numerator and denominator by sine of t. So this is going to give me, I'm just going to write it like this, sine of t times 1 minus sine squared of t all over, and in the denominator we have sine of t plus 1, because I have to distribute this to both of those terms, right? Now, here's the thing. Remember when I said that 1 minus sine squared of t could be factored as 1 plus sine of t times 1 minus sine of t? That's actually what we want to do here. So this is going to give me the sine of t times 1 plus sine of t times 1 minus sine of t. Then all over the denominator of sine of t plus 1, or preferably 1 plus sine of t, because it's, well, frankly, because that's that right there. In other words, there's now a common factor between this and this right there. They will cancel each other. So we're just left with the sine of t times 1 minus sine of t. And let's look at what we want to do. We want 1 plus sine of negative t over cosecant of t. But remember, cosecant of t is 1 over sine. In other words, if you move it to the numerator, it is sine. Or if you take something from the numerator, or if you take a sine from the numerator and move it to the denominator, in other words, take the sine, move it to the denominator, it becomes cosecant. So that gives me 1 minus sine of t, and then over cosecant of t. So we're very close, except now we need this to be a plus and have a negative in there. But remember, sine is odd. So this negative can go on the inside. In other words, if you have a negative on the inside, it goes on the outside, or if you have a negative on the outside, it can come on the inside. So that's going to make this 1 plus sine of negative t over cosecant of t. And that is what we wanted to prove. That is the right-hand side. QED. Alrighty. Well, there you go. That's what we did in this video. I'm going to go ahead and end it here, and I will see you in the next one. Have fun.